Hi everyone, welcome back for another video installment of our series all about Bizet's Carmen. I'm Wojciech Milewski, music director of COT. Last, we left off with the finale of Act 2, the very fiery, tumultuous ending to Act 2. And ours is a little bit different. You'll see all about how that's going to be portrayed on stage. It's a very pivotal moment in the story. It's a point of no return, if you will. Well, Act 3 is set 2 months later in the mountains, in the beautiful mountains. It's nighttime. And we set this scene with the beautiful entr'acte to Act 3, the famous flute melody that's taken up by the entire orchestra, an absolutely gorgeous orchestral showpiece in the most lyrical way possible. Well, as soon as that's over, we are introduced to the smugglers, to the band that's trying to stay cautious and alert in the mountains. They're always on guard, and the sextet that comes in right at the beginning of Act 3 is all about that. Prends garde. We hear over and over and over, be careful, be careful, be careful, almost as if sending us all a message, almost like sending the main characters a message. Well, Prends garde is a very famous line, and famously we hear it in Carmen's Habanera in Act 1. Prends garde toi. And this sort of line about take care, because if I fall in love with you, you're mine. And it's actually a line that comes to us from an old legend from Spain, the famous statue of Venus that has an inscription with the exact same line under it, which is where that line comes to us from. This would have been something Mary May put into the novella of Carmen in its original literary form that's brought to life first by Carmen in the Habanera, and now by the entire smugglers sort of ensemble, if you will, in this Act 3 opener of Prends garde, faire un faux pas. Be careful not to make a mistake, not to arouse suspicion, whatever. Well, shortly after this introductory scene of be careful, we have the famous card trio, Frasquita, Mercedes, and Carmen are sort of reading their own tarot cards, fortunes. Again, the controversy, the shock, the scandal these initial audiences would have felt. I can't imagine. First, a bar, a cigarette factory. We're talking about these subcultures of human life, and now tarot cards? Oh my gosh, the humanity. Well, famously in this trio, not only do each of the sisters sort of learn their fates, but famously Carmen reads hers over and over and over. It's always the same, l'amour, death. So the first half of the opera all sort of was leading us towards this inevitable conclusion of love until the finale of Act 2, and now death. Interestingly enough, I did not mention in the previous series, at the end of Act 2, there's a very beautiful, poignant moment where José sings this famous aria, La fleur que tu m'avais jetée, the flower that you threw at me. This beautiful, lyrical, legato, amazing aria that would have been beloved by audiences is sort of now countered with this very dark, ominous aria by Carmen in the opening of Act 3. In vain, en vain pour éviter. You have to hear Ginger Costa Jackson do this amazing aria live in the theater, all about her own death and how she knows it's coming. She knows when, she does not, but she knows it's coming. And famously after this card trio, another character returns finally, Micaela. Micaela is out on a mission to save Don José from the grips of this evil lifestyle that he's in. She doesn't recognize him anymore. Plus, she has terrible news. His mother is dying. You have to come home. You have to come home with me. And this is the moment we find her. And when she first appears on stage, sort of in an old traditional style, she comes onto stage and expresses her feelings, almost in this very Baroque, sort of neo-Baroque style. Her famous aria, the Micaela aria, Je dis que rien ne m'épouvante. We know it was beloved by audiences at the premieres, at the first run of these shows, because it's in this older style of a character appears, they find themselves in a situation, but let me express my emotions and feelings. I'm scared, but I have to find courage. That's exactly what Micaela does and expresses to us in this famous, beautiful aria that's going to be sung by Andrea Baker. You're not going to want to miss that. And sort of it's sort of an aria fest in a way. The end of Act 2, the opening of Act 3, and then famously after José sees Michaela again, because Michaela's found out she's hiding, but then the band of smugglers brings her out. Famously, she drags him away from Carmen and the band of smugglers. And it's at this point we have one of the most tense interactions between Carmen and José. At this point we know Carmen's feelings towards José have waned. She's now sort of finding that she's in love with Escamillo, and probably has been since he first appeared on stage. We'll have to explore those relationships together in person when you come see our production of it. But it's an interesting love triangle that develops, that comes to its sort of true culmination here. Before the finale of Act 3, there's a famous duet, the famous battle, the fight scene between José and Escamillo. They fight over Carmen's love, but are they really fighting over her love? Because they don't get to decide that, she does. But nonetheless, they still continue to try to fight for their own honor, to fight for the right to be the one to be loved by her. The famous battle scene between the two. And then finally, Escamillo leaves, and right before the end of Act 3, as José is about to be taken away by Michaela, as she tells him of his mother dying, we hear Toreador en garde. Escamillo's off to the bullfights, and Carmen wants to go with him and is blocked by José. It sets up for quite the tumultuous conclusion in Act 4. Join us for our last video next time.